Hello, everyone. I'm going to try to create a topography for this building. So far, these are the levels that we have. This is level 0, where the first floor is, and this is the foundation level. In this case, it's level -12. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is to create a new level, and then I'm going to move it all the way down. Okay, apparently this element is attached to this level, but probably it has to be attached to the foundation level. So this is level -120 now. Why am I doing this level? Because if you know, this building is placed on a cliff. So the topography, it's going to be something like that. So that cliff is very sharp, very vertical in this side, and on the other side is less vertical. So we're going to try to create some topography that reminds of something natural, like this mountain. That's why I have created this level there. I think I can move it even farther. I'm going to move it to level -150, 150. Okay, let's make it 200. So that will be level -200. Okay, now open any of the levels, level 0, whatever. Here we have the topography. We're going to make up the topography. The only thing that here you see that all the contour lines are very close to each other, and here too. That means that the mountain is steeper here than there. Okay, so that's the only thing I want to do. I want to do something that it's steeper here and here and lighter there. Okay, first we have to work with massing and site. This is Revit 24, and we have to create the toposolid. That's the basic thing for everything. I'm going to create the toposolid, and first I'll start with a rectangle, and I have to place that rectangle on level -200. Click OK, and then on the 3D view, I will see the toposolid on this level -200. And now I have to start working with the toposolid level or with the toposolid geometry. But Revit 24 is not based on contour lines. I wish it were, but it's not. So little by little, you have to understand what we are doing. Okay, so we have to select the toposolid, and then we have to add points. When we add points, by default, the absolute elevation is 0. So that means that I can create like a line here, and that all these points will be on that level 0. I'm going to create like a natural contour line here. What have I done on the 3D view? So on the 3D view, if I modify the topo solid, all these points are there. Okay, so I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to create more points. I want this to be like a contour line, but I want another contour line here. So if I keep creating a curve like this, and okay, so that would be enough. I'm going to select modify elements. So I'm going to select all these dots in the internal. I don't want to select these, and I don't want to select this. And then I'm going to change the elevation. So I'm going to change the elevation. By default, we have negative 200. I'm going to change that elevation to negative, change the elevation to negative 20. Okay, so that's correct. So I'm working with elevation, so it's not negative. So by default, this absolute elevation is 0. So I have to select again all these points, and I don't want to select the outer ones. And now, okay, so if this is negative 200, I'm going to go to 150 up. And you see that I have created this plateau here. Now what else? I'm going to select the original contour line, and I'm going to move it like 100 up. Okay, so you see that little by little, I'm building my mountain. And the slope here is lighter than there. So I can keep doing this, I can keep adding points, but now this point, it's, if I do this, whoop, I have created this hole because the elevation is 0. So I have to make sure that when I keep adding points, the absolute elevation is 150, because that's the elevation that I have in this plateau. I'm going to keep working with this. Yeah, you have to be careful with this because every time it finds an intersection, that's the problem with modify sub elements. So this, it's still in 0. So I want it to be 250. So I can keep adding points, change the elevation to 150, 50, and keep adding points, being very careful. So now all these elements, or I can create a different elevation for that. Let me see what I'm doing. So I'm modifying these elements, and I have another line of dots or points there. Okay, so I want to select all these points. It's 2, it's 2, and I don't want to select those or this one. Okay, so I have like another contour line here. And now if I change this elevation to 160, I keep going up. And if I change this to 180, I go even farther. And I can select individual points. For example, if I, can select all these dots, modify sub-elements, and I want to select just those dots here. If I go to the west view and I move them up, you see how I can change this profile. Okay, so that makes the TopoSolid more natural. If I change this one, I can drag it up, and or I can control the elevation of this point, 170. Okay. Now, now this is flying, so I need to complete the geometry here. This is level -12. If this is level -200, if I want to go to -12, if I'm not wrong, this should be level 188. So let's do it. Now I can select all these and I can change this to 190, for example. Okay, you see that now I'm filling this, and now the whole building is resting on something solid. If I want to change the slope here, then I have to select this one and this and this and this. All these points, they have the same elevation, 160. I'm going to type 175. Okay, so now this slope is better. And now I want to make this and this and this and this and that one, instead of 175, 170. That goes down. And now I want to select this one, that one, and that one, and I'm going to make it 165. Okay, so we are building like a natural surface. I recommend you do like all these points at the same level so we can fix, but when we are approaching the building, we can select point by point. This is weird, so in nature that wouldn't happen, or maybe it would, having this flat surface there. And to make it more natural and to enhance the idea that this slope is very sharp, very vertical, and that slope is lighter, we can select the topography from the top view, and we can edit the sketch. Okay, so by editing the sketch, those are straight lines. I'm going to use splines. So by using the spline, always with the idea of having closer contour lines in that part. Okay, I have to finish all of them. And I'll keep going. The first rectangle was just something to, as a reference. Now I can delete the first rectangle. And if I click OK, it will look much natural, like a slope. So again, this is a very vertical mountain, and here we have something more, something lighter. And all this element is here. It might make sense having this flat area here. If we don't want that, we can modify sub-elements. And we can always change the topography or the elevation of this. If here I type 178, if this is 195, or this is 197, and this is 196. Okay, so we can have a more natural profile. But that would be the idea. I don't know why in Revit 24 they have done this. It's not contour lines based, it's point based. Okay, I like the idea, but it's not very straightforward for architects. It's more for sculptors or artists. So I don't know why the Revit developers, they have introduced this way to create the toposolid. Anyway, that's what we have. And I think we can have something quite good. So try to follow all the steps and let me know if you have any trouble doing it.